Ooh. Hello, everybody. Okay, have you ever thought about how much first impressions matter? I'm not talking about kind of the dating scene or anything like that. I mean in products, in technology products. That's what I want to talk to you about today, about technology, first impressions, getting started. And I'm going to do that all around Lego. See, this is my space shuttle. I own this one. It's a 1992 space shuttle from Lego, box 6346. It comes with a little card attached to it. So it comes with a little truck, with some guys on motorcycles, with the whole trailer and everything attached to it. It doesn't have a NASA logo on it, because in Legoland, everybody goes to space, not just the Americans. Now, if you were fortunate enough, like me, to be bombarded with Lego when you grew up, you probably know what Lego is. But if you don't know, it's that little thing where you take a little plastic brick and you add a block and you add another block and another block. And before you know it, you've built an entire house or an entire car or a space shuttle, all without knowing anything about architecture or mechanical engineering or design or anything like that. It was invented in 1932, and it started off as a very simple toy with just the bricks. And it has evolved over time, but it's made a lot of things have still stayed the same. It's still little bricks, you still click them together, but we also see different things that are maybe not that obvious that have stayed the same, and that's what I'm going to focus on today. So who am I? I'm Cristiano Betta, not Cristiano Bettas, as it said before. I work at Hoopy, where you saw Matthew before. I work as a developer experience designer. So like I said before, I help companies build onboarding experiences, sign-ups, documentation that explains how a technical product works to developers like you. So who here works as a developer for a company that sells an API, an SDK, anything like that? Like 2, 3 hands, 4 hands? Okay, a few. Excellent. Sorry. No. The Lego experience really starts with the box, right? This is one of the boxes, and it has all the common elements. It has like the Lego logo, it has like which age it's for, how old you need to be, whether or not you can build this as a 4-year-old or not. I think most of us are okay with that. How many pieces are in there, and you see some photos of what the product will look like eventually. But there's a lot of things here that Lego does as well that aren't that obvious. A lot of things it does to put us at ease with this design. Because it's often easy to forget that your external developers aren't awesome technical experts like you are. They are new to your product, new to your industry, new to whatever solution you are solving. They don't have the technical experience. Additionally, they might not know what they're building yet. They might not know what they want to use your product for, so they're very low on motivation. And additionally, they're probably a lot younger than you. You've been working on your technology for a while. You've been building something cool. Somebody might come to your product straight out of uni, straight out of university, trying to build something on top of your product. Ooh. Now, what that means is that the real thing about the first impression is not about looking good. Even though that will work for trying to sell your product in the first place, but it's really there to make sure that people are able to build something on top of your product. And to do that, we're going to have to motivate and inspire them. We also want to motivate and inspire. We also want to make sure that they know that it's not just a product that you can use, but it's a product that they can use, that they can build on. Even if they've never used your product before, or never seen your industry before, or never seen your your technology before, or even if they've just learned programming 2 weeks ago. Now, what I love is how Pusher solves this problem. So Pusher does WebSockets. So if you're not familiar, they basically make it really easy for you to send a message from a server to a browser or a web app or anywhere. But rather than talk about that, they made this website where there's a little curl command. You copy that into your terminal and you run it, and within 2 seconds or something, the color of the page changes. Now, what they've done there is they've shown how easy it is to use the product, that the user can do it, that it's easy for them to do it, and that the product is really, really, really powerful. And they've done all of that without talking about WebSockets, without talking about APIs, without talking about any technical jargon, any technically complicated things. They've just shown it. Now, this is Amazon, AWS. This is the opposite. This is actually Amazon, what products on Amazon should be called, which is things like EC2, because Amazon likes to use all these little acronyms. They like to go heavy on the acronyms, on the technical jargon, and instead, what you could do instead is just use these terms of what they actually mean. If you didn't understand a word of that, that's because it is complete nonsense. That was complete and utter random technology mumbo-jumbo. I find that often when I read certain websites for the first time, that's what it looks like to me. It looks like just complete technical jargon and just nonsense. Which brings me to the second point. It's important to give developers the confidence that they, and not just you, can do it, right? We need to make sure that they feel smart even if they have no developer experience. Now, Pusher does a great job at keeping the technical details low. Sorry, having some issues with my slides. And this is hanging. Sorry. There's a bit of a delay between my... There we go. This is Twilio. Twilio allows you to send text messages. And what they've done is, on the one hand side, they've shown you the code. So they go, here's the code for what you can do. And I could copy all this code and put this in a text editor and then add my own phone number and then run it, and then eventually I'll get a text message. But if I want to see how quick the product is, I can just type my phone number in there and hit send, and within a second, I get a text message, which is exactly the same features as what the same content that is there on the right. And what that does is it shows me that code does this thing really quickly. And it gives the confidence to me that this is going to be really easy to use. Now, once you've reached these two goals, once you've shown people, you've motivated them that your product is easy, and you've inspired them that they can build interesting products with it, you've done something very cool. You've put confidence in people to get started. You've given them the confidence to start using your product. And Lego is really good at getting started. Because the thing that's in every one of these boxes is the manual. So there's this manual, and it starts off very simple. One brick, another brick, another brick. And as you continue on, there should be a slide in between. It takes you all the way from one brick all the way to your entire space shuttle, right? And the thing that they realize at Lego is that we all learn a very specific way, independent of where we grew up or where we're from. In the end, learning for us is all this kind of loop that we go through. Learn, reflect, repeat. And I think it's the steps of reflection and repeating that we often have problems with. So when you take a brick, you take another brick, you put them together. What do? You look at the image on the manual and you see, does this look the way I expected it to look, like it looks in the manual? If it doesn't, you take it apart again, you try again. And in Lego, we do that a lot. And in learning, we do that a lot, with APIs as well. So when we make an API call, we expect a certain response. If it doesn't work, we try again. Now, if that difference between those two steps is really big, so I make an API call that I think is right, and it does something completely different, then what does that mean? That makes it really hard for me to understand where I went wrong. So that way, Lego keeps all these steps really, really small. It's often 1 or 2 bricks that they add per step. The other thing that they do, which I find interesting, is they show you quite complicated things over time. For example, one thing that they do in a lot of their builds is they show you that if you interlock your Lego bricks, if you kind of overlay them, you end up with a lot more stronger construction. So your Lego construction doesn't fall apart as easily. Now, that is something that is very common, again, in architecture, in aerospace engineering, yet they don't explain this with text, they just show you by showing it to you. So you learn all these really complicated things without having to know what this is called. You just learn it by seeing it. Which takes me to the other side of the spectrum, though, which is that if you've used a Mac before, right? Who here has ever read the manual for their Apple machine? Okay, one person. But like most people don't read their manual for their Apple machine because there is no manual for your Apple machine, right? They don't ship with them anymore. But the thing is, if you're building an API or an SDK, you're not building an Apple machine. One of these things is they are very advanced technology, but they are very easy to use because they're very forgiving, right? You can do a lot of different things with it, but it's not super powerful necessarily in the way they operate. Your SDKs, your APIs, they're quite differently designed. You can make a very specific API call to do something very powerful at the other end. So what that means is that you do have to educate a bit more about how your product works. Something that you wouldn't have to do with an Apple machine, you do have to do with your own product. Now I'm a bit behind. So, no, it's this one that's hanging, not that one. So all of these manuals take somebody all the way from first brick all the way to the end, to a full space shuttle, right? And that's really important. And in some websites, you'll have these get started buttons, and you click on them, and they take you to sign up, and then they just leave you hanging. Those kind of experiences is not taking somebody all the way from 0 to space shuttle. That's taking somebody from 0 to 3 bricks, right? Imagine if you got a box of Lego with on the outside a nice picture of what it was supposed to look like, and then the manual was missing the last 10 pages. You'd be really disappointed, right? You'd be really disappointed. So what Pusher does here is they take you all the way through creating an application, so you specify what kind of technology you are using, and then actually showing you the code specifically for your programming language on how to get started. Because that is the way to take somebody all the way from 0 to hero. But it brings me to the fact why every step matters. Every 10 seconds in these kind of flows is important. Because if you get somebody excited enough, motivated enough, inspired enough to get to your Get Started guide, you can get them into the Get Started guide, and you can take them every step towards making their first integration. And if you can get them to get their first integration, then you can get them to make something a little bit more complicated. And if you can get them to do that, you can get them to the next step. But if somewhere along the way you are missing a brick, then people are going to go do something else. Because in the end, your attention of the people using your product competes with their Xbox, their PlayStation, their friends, their family, the things they could do instead of using your product. So take a little sidestep. Have you ever noticed, like, if you have a large amount of Lego or a puzzle or anything, or an IKEA set or anything like that, really, how people find the right piece? Let's say you need to find the next piece. How do you do that, right? We're not computers. A computer's way would just be, look at that one. Is that it? No. Look at the next one. Is that it? No. You'd go through it, the computer would go through all of them until it finds the right one. Humans are very different. We use this thing called satisficing. We just look at the whole bunch of them, we look at all of them, and we go, we look at it globally, we go, that one looks probably right, we pick it up, and we try it. And if it's not right, we throw that away and try again. That's called satisficing. And it's the same behavior we see in people who make high-stakes decisions, like firefighters. So when a firefighter comes to a fire, they're not going to spend 5 minutes, 10 minutes making a plan. They have a plan already. They go in, and as they go along, they adjust their decisions as they go along. Come on. Now, in an API or an SDK, that kind of behavior of people just trying can be accounted for by adding some kind of self-correction or forgiveness to the product. One way to do that is to add a detailed error messaging. So the way they do that here in Lego is to just show you, like, here's the one-on-one size of that bit of Lego. So if there's multiple pieces of Lego in a set that look the same but aren't the same length, they put these little bits there where you can just grab your bit of Lego, put it on there, and compare the size. Now, it might be tempting to provide those kind of notes to your own documentation as well. But I'd almost always recommend to just make your product better and less ambiguous. Why do you have two pieces of Lego that look exactly the same? If your API has two things that look the same but do something very different, maybe your API should change so that they look a lot different while they do very different things. Because the problem is, nobody reads. Nobody reads manuals or documentation at the end of the day. Now, what I also find interesting is it's very simple to think about your product as solving a specific solution. What is this? Anybody? Say again? Oh, I didn't press the button. These, sorry. Doors, yes. These are technically door pieces, but I've seen them used as wings of a plane, a speed bump, depending on how you use them. Lego can be reused in so many different ways. And the thing is, so will the product you build. People will use the product you build for the thing they want to build. So at the end of the day, you will write documentation for what you have in mind they will use your product for, but your documentation and your design needs to facilitate the products that they are going to build as well. And Lego does this by providing often complete other integrations. I have these Lego Technic sets where there's like 3 or 4 different things I can build with the same set. And your product is probably going to be used the same way. Now, what's cool about Lego is that they have this Lego Ideas website. So you can go and use their software. You can build your own models, and then you can share them with people. And if you get 10,000 people to share it with you, they will make that box for you and sell it in the stores. And they will put your face in the manual. Now, if you think about the opposite way we treat developers sometimes, I went to make an application for Amazon Echo. Are we familiar here with Amazon Echo? Like a speaker, you talk to it, it talks back to you, and you can write skills for it. I went to write a bit of software for that. And where with Lego, they put you, if you get 10,000 supporters, they sell your product, they put it in the store for you. With Amazon Echo, it was more a process of learn, build, reject. Because I wrote a skill, I put it in the store, and then they went, oh, you forgot to do this. And I was like, okay. And then I went to add my privacy policy. And then they were like, oh, no, it can't understand this word. You need to change this word. Alexa is really bad at understanding the word GitHub. Apparently, it doesn't understand GitHub. We all do, but Amazon doesn't. Well, really what we want to have, right, is that experience of learn, build, share, of actually, at the end of that experience, when you've convinced somebody to use your API, to build a product, and then to build their own product on top of your product, and they launch that and they release that, at the end of that, you want them to be excited about that, and you want to share their success with them, and you want to tell their story. And if you can't do that, then maybe you shouldn't be trying to build products for other people. I'm just going to be honest there. So here are some takeaways. This doesn't really work. I'm leaving that. So expect difference. Expect that people aren't as educated as you are, as motivated. They don't know anything about your product. They don't know anything about, they're not as motivated to use your product. Expect failure. Expect people not to be able to use your product. Help them, teach them. Think of every little step that needs to be taken to take them to building their first product. Celebrate success. When you've spent all that money, all that time evangelizing, writing content, and somebody actually writes something new on top of your product, and it's successful, and they have a business on top of it, celebrate their success, because that success is your success. And then maybe in the end, you'll end up in a Lego manual as well. Anyway, I'm going to leave you with one inspiring kind of takeaway. You can write the best copy in the world, right? And have the best instruction videos ever made and the best product developed ever. But when you step on a piece of Lego, it still hurts, right? So that's it for me. Thank you.